Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Mo Money with you on the Mo Money Sports Network. The Last Dance episode 2. And this one starts with Scottie Pippen uh part of the episode where Scottie signed a bad 7-year deal for $18 million. And it was coming up on time to renegotiate. And the reason it was a bad deal for 7 years at $18 million was because Scotty didn't realize or couldn't he said he couldn't gamble on himself getting hurt because he had to protect his family. And during this time the league salary skyrocketed. So here you had what was considered the second best player in the league uh not having the salary to match, and everybody was surpassing him. And Jerry Reinsdorf actually said that, Scotty, once you sign this deal, don't come back and try to renegotiate because I've told you. And he said, I told him the same thing I told Michael, which was if I was you, I wouldn't sign this deal because you're kind of selling yourself short. But Scotty signed the deal. And this plays into the fact of why Scotty didn't want to have the surgery during the summer. He wanted to make a statement to the Bulls that if you're not going to look after me, I'm not going to look after you. And all this did was get the Bulls off to the slow start, which made Mike upset because Mike's about winning. Michael is all winning. And he even says during the course of it makes me sick to lose. And it was something that Mike took personally, going as far as to say he thought Scotty was being selfish, which he kind of was. And here's a kid from little Central Arkansas, Scotty Pippen, who's probably the best point forward in the league at this point, and he's making this huge impact on the Bulls, and the Bulls don't have him around, and the Bulls are struggling, and they have a game against the Clippers. And Mike just said to himself, "We're not losing this game." And he says too that if I have to do it myself, I'm gonna do it myself. And it's just one of those things where Scotty's decisions are now impacting the team. And then they go back to a flashback of the 87 series, I think it was, against the Celtics. Whatever year it was that Mike hurt himself in the draft or during the season. He missed 64 games, and he's talking about how his mom and dad spent a lot of time with Mike, during his recovery. And at this point, Mike's missed 64 games. And, they're talking about how there's a 10% chance that if Mike gets hurt again, if he comes back too early, that he will hurt himself beyond repair and his career will be over. And if you're enjoying the series and enjoying the channel, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And so Mike is of the mentality of there's a 90% chance I'll be okay, let me play. And he was just bored and wanted to do something. So he goes back to Carolina because he wants to go back and finish school, I guess. So he talked to the Bulls, and they let him go back to college. And he's walking in the pool trying to get right. And he says there was a time where he played 1-on-1, which went to 2-on-2, 3-on-3, all the way up to 5-on-5. And he said the Bulls didn't know I was doing it, which is the funniest part because he gets back and he said what gave it away was my injured calf was stronger than the calf that I was healthy with. And Jerry Krause goes, "How did this happen?" And he had to tell him that he'd been playing basketball for a week and a half at 5-on-5. And so the Bulls didn't want to put Mike back in the lineup, despite the fact that they were in the middle of a playoff push. And remember, this is 1986 or 85, and Mike wants to play because he's a competitor. So what ends up happening is they put him on a 7-minute per half restriction, And Mike's upset about this because he feels you need to play to win the game, and they're in the middle of a playoff push. So he said to the coach, he said, "Give me the most important 14 minutes you can think of." So Mike's playing, and there comes a time in a situation where he is absolutely going off for this 14 minutes. And then he gets taken out with 30 seconds left because the coach was told if you put him in for any more than 14 minutes, you'd be fired on the spot. So, luckily for Mike, after being all upset, because Mike thinks at this point the Bulls are trying to throw the season to get a better draft pick. But John Paxson hits a shot. The Bulls win the game, so they're kind of saved. But Mike's mentality is to win. And, that's just how it goes. And he didn't like the fact, and he never really got over that in the sense of they're not trying to win. And this lays into Scotty's half of the episode, where Scotty had found out the Bulls were trying to trade him the year before. And Scotty feels at this point he's the underpaid. I think they said in the episode he wasn't even in the top 100. And he's underpaid and they're trying to trade him. And Jerry Krause's defense was he really felt like it's his job to listen to everybody. And he says that we really value Scotty and we think he's one of the top two or three players in the league, but it's my job to listen. But Scotty had felt insulted because he wasn't told this to his face. And, Scotty really had had enough. He couldn't stand Jerry Krause to the point in which he would berate him on the bus, and they got Phil and Winnington, and all these guys are talking about it. They're like, at some point, you got to tell Scotty to stop because it's getting personal. And Scotty was very unhappy to the point where he demanded a trade and said he would never play for the Bulls again. And he wasn't coming off of the injured reserve until he was traded. And that again goes back to what I said earlier about Mike feeling like Scotty was selfish instead of trying to win a championship. He was looking out for himself, which he was. Scotty in this episode comes off as very selfish, but if I was in his spot, I would be too. And the whole thing of it is, Scotty might have been right because Jerry, and the only reason Scotty didn't get traded was because the owner said no, as long as Mike's here, we're going to try to win the sixth title. And the incident on the bus basically led Scotty to say, maybe it's time for me to go shopping and look out for myself. And the episode ends with Scotty saying, um, I had to do what's best for me. And that is episode 2 of The Last Dance. So if you like this episode, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, may your ego come from a place that keeps you humble. I'm Mo Money. Mamba out.